Hello and welcome back to another episode. Indeed, welcome to the workshop. Finally, I get to share with you this magnificent space that I've been putting the finishing touches on for the past few weeks. I'm very excited, and in fact, doubly excited because today is my 35th birthday. It's a glorious sunny day outside, if a little windy. We have family staying with us for the week who might have gone into town to get a birthday present or two, and I just find myself grinning from ear to ear here in the workshop. Now, when we first moved into our current house, it came with lots of positives, lots of upgrades as it were, not least because we were no longer renting. We could do things like, God forbid, hang a picture or paint a door. But also I got my own bespoke office space. We had things like off-road parking, but also we had a shed. And this was wonderful because it meant I could store my work materials, things like this Viking shield behind me. I'll get to that in a moment. Along with tools that I used to make things and general DIY, and also of course things like the lawnmower for the gardens, front and back. We're lucky enough to have two lawns here, two gardens as well. So it was a wonderful development in our lives. But the shed was old when we moved in, and it wasn't very well put together. Like so many things in the house, the previous owners were bodgers, it's fair to say. And last winter, our shed developed a rotten roof. Seemingly moisture got in between the felt and the chipboard of the roof, and it was clear it wasn't going to last another winter, and we couldn't afford for that to happen. The amount of stuff that we stored in that shed, we had nowhere else to put it. So this was an opportunity to tweak our lives, make things better, and get a new shed. And actually it was my lovely wife who suggested that we should possibly get two sheds. Now, when we went into the shed place, we did lots of research, and it turned out that the best place for us to get sheds locally was just across the road, well, about less than half a mile away, over a roundabout behind the camera there. And when we went in, the guy was at first a bit confused because most people don't buy two sheds, but also his eyes lit up when he realised that we were going to be spending a not insignificant amount of money, the better part of £1,000, on a couple of well-made semi-permanent structure like sheds, hardwood, not that sort of layered planking, open grained nonsense that rots and falls apart, but something that's a bit closer to an alpine lodge in that sense, something a bit more Scandinavian as it were. And this is what we got. We got this workshop, which actually yesterday I finished painting with purple stripes. It's going to be purple and yellow outside. And we got a second shed for garden materials, which is actually higher up. It's on the lawn, and indeed on stilts. And in there we keep the lawnmower. There's a gazebo that I use for work, summer events that I attend for work. There's a potting area. That's still very much a work in progress. But this space, I have enjoyed so much making it my own, and making it, crucially, work. First order retrievability. I don't have to pick things up to get at things. Everything that I use most frequently is out and accessible, and crucially it's going to free me up to be able to experiment and make new exciting things. But first and foremost, let's have a quick workshop tour, shall we? Let's have a look around. Okay, so it's a little bit windy. Let's get indoors, and well, actually, first of all, let's have a look at the wonderful purple paintwork that I finished yesterday. Well, finished 2 panels worth of. The plan is to go purple and yellow, kind of the colours of my company, but also actually just a nice sort of contrast, colours that make each other sing. Purple and yellow are complementary. And with the other shed, we've gone for sort of mint green and daisy, although, oh, my wife won't be happy with that mud there. I think that's from a cat on the roof, maybe overnight. Oh dear. But when it's finished, it's going to look a bit like a beach hut. That's the plan. Similarly with this one. So I might just stain this and leave it as the wood colour with the purple, but we'll see. Anyway, indoors. And in we go. First of all, on the door, I've got a whiteboard hanging there, and that's really useful for planning, and I've never really had a adequate place to put it, but now it hangs happily on the door. There's a toddler cupboard catch here that stops it falling off. My whiteboard markers are there, brilliant. And then inside, to the right hand side, we have all my workshop materials, so stuff that I use to teach different periods of history. So we have sort of Mayans, Vikings, prehistory, all this sort of stuff. We have down there some panels that are sort of virtual archaeological digs, like a little grid that we lay out and flip over and reveal the archaeology beneath the grass. And then here, just on the inside, we have another shelf containing more workshop stuff, but this is workshop stuff that is less frequently used. So again, careful planning as to where we put stuff, but all of it is accessible and all of it is useful. On the ceiling, I've hung some of the kids' shields that we use in workshops, like a little shield hall, my own little Valhalla. And on the back wall there is my shield. I use, also my shield, it's an adult shield, I don't use it, obviously. Down there we have all the different swords and axes and things stored behind a piece of wood on the wall, keeping it in place. Very handy. In front of that I put a workbench next to lots of odds and ends, bits of wood that I can use for crafting materials, and in here drawers which are variously useful. So we have, again, drawers full of odds and ends. These are the wheels from the basketball net. I'll come to that in a bit. Underneath there we have some laminate tiles, which are quite useful, and more odd bits of wood in here as well. Here we have the workbench, which was a nightmare to put together. The instructions are absolutely terrible, but it was a mere £35 on eBay. Very nice metal flat pack essentially, on which I can store all this stuff. So toolbox, hammer, wall drill, sander, a grinder a friend gave me actually when they learned about this lovely workshop space, paints, glues, heat gun, this kind of thing. And then on top, frequent use tools. So we have a nice pegboard at the back, and then all these things here, so pencils and pens and files. My Dremel gets a lot of use, and actually that's just here, the Dremel sort of extension, but actually it's hanging from the ceiling, and in turn it's plugged in underneath the window and crucially labelled, so I know which one is the Dremel. Inside here we have a drawer for sort of not quite so frequently used but nonetheless useful tools and extensions and blades, and this beautiful spirit level that was my dad's, I do believe. It's not the best, you know, in the world, but it's a good one, so I keep it and I do use it. Sat at my chair in front of me is a rubbish box, some various odds and sods down there, including actually very usefully a first aid box. There's also a torch, so I'm sure that will come in handy one day when I inevitably slice off my own finger or something. It's going to collapse. Just stay. Chaos. Anyway, moving on. And here is my workbench, and this is where I'm most at home. I have an offshoot of my business that makes bottle opener trowels, and actually underneath the workbench is some failed bottle opener trowels. So for example on this one I misspelled Stephen Edwards, it should have been with a V and not a PH. And this is all the stuff that I use to make bottle opener trowels, including something to hold the trowel so I can engrave the surface, a brush to clean the work surface of metal dust, a clamp, safety goggles, lovely Pika ink thin permanent marker, which is wonderful for marking out well, through holes actually in particular, but also for fine line drawing, again when you're drawing the template for making a bottle opener trowel. We have my frequent use file for that purpose, a round file, permanent marker, other bits and bobs. This I'm really pleased with. This, again, it's really odd and niche and specific, but this is a clip to hold to hold a spatula that has glue on it, and so when I'm gluing something I don't have to put the spatula on the work surface and have it stick there. It can just sit in this clip here and dry, and it's not sticking to anything. It's great. Trial and error. Up above we have some G-clamps, a nice set square, a roll of kitchen paper which comes in very handy, some drill bits and a drill press. And this drill press has come in so handy in recent days, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it's just lovely to have this. I actually bought this specifically when I got this workshop space. I didn't have that previously, but it's just been a little fantasy of mine to have a drill press, and no space is wasted because I made this for it to go on, and underneath is a bucket filled with offcuts of wood. Again, it all just works wonderfully well. Oh, there's a Halloween prop there, witch's broom. Now, beyond the drill press there, which is superb, brilliant, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. There's a little thing on the wall as you come in on the left hand side that really was a marker for my wife of me entering a new stage of manhood. In so much as I'm now a little closer to being middle-aged, and this thing is a series of small drawers that carefully store and sort different size screws and nails and other fixtures and fittings, that if you just have them in a toolbox they get all muddled up, and that's no use to anyone. So when I got so excited at the prospect of having small drawers in the shed, my wife was giggling like no one's business, but she thinks it's adorable and crucially very useful. Already it's saved so much time to be able to go, right, I need a 30mm screw, 3 centimeters, here's a drawer, I can use it without any muss, any fuss, and any swearing as I jumble through the toolbox and cut myself on things. Underneath the mini drawers, which are bit by bit being utilised, I have a glue gun on the wall, and also something that I got yesterday. My father-in-law helped me to find one that was useful, is a mini nail gun, and again it's just the right size for this workshop. It fits there beautifully, and it's going to help me to make small boxes and reupholster furniture, this kind of thing. Down here I've installed a place to hang spare sanding discs for my rotary sander, and just here is actually, there's a spear, if you can see that, it's there, a spear in the corner along with another pole of wood that I wasn't sure what to do with, but I'm sure it'll come in handy one day. It's being held in place by another one of those toddler cupboard clips, but also this works really well to store the electricity connection, because well, actually I'll show you if I just unplug it. Whoop, there we go. The light's gone off in there, and I hang the plug up here, voila, but the cable here goes neatly just behind there, and the door closes on it, and it's all just lovely. But already, actually, in addition to the layout of the shed being very user friendly, and actually I'm still in that process of finding places for things where, especially things I use most frequently. I've also found myself able to experiment now with new making opportunities, and one of those being working in foam. So a couple of weeks ago now I made this. I got very excited, had this idea when I was playing Stronghold on the PC, and decided to make myself a crown, and crucially a crown that would fit even my massive head. Now interestingly, when you look online for foam crowns, they tend to be really thin, flimsy things for princess parties, this kind of thing. And so actually this not only was fun to make out of a foam, like a garage floor mat type thing, those interlocking things you can get from a DIY store. And yes, I need to sand off the texture on the inside if I make another one. But actually I think these could be quite good for stag parties. I can imagine people getting these for their mates for the night out, you know, because it's quite durable, and it'll probably put up with a bit of abuse, and it's a good solid sort of Game of Thrones style crown. So I've already seen the benefits of being able to experiment and make new things. Maintenance as well has been so much easier in here. I've been able to fix doors and cut out new bits of wood without getting rained on. But also a thing that brings me so much joy was finally making the basketball net work properly. So, well, actually, here you go, have a look. So a couple of years ago I got a basketball net for exercise and also practicing basketball. I used to play basketball in high school and very much enjoyed it, and the nearest basketball net to me is about 2 miles away, and I couldn't be bothered walking there every time I wanted to just, you know, shoot a couple of hoops. And so I got a basketball net, and this was actually an ex-display basketball net, but it's against the wall, and it came with at the base a great big plastic container for water or sand or something to weigh the thing down, along with some wheels that you saw just before in the workshop to roll it around. And the only way to mount this net in this space was to have the base jutting out into the yard below the net, and that meant every time I scored with the ball it would come down, it would hit the plastic base, bounce off in a random direction, maybe break a plant pot or whatever, risk going over the fence. And so it really wasn't adequate, and actually last winter the base broke. It was going rusty, and it wasn't working, so I wasn't using the net. But because of the beautiful workshop, I've been able to use the drill press to modify drain clips actually to hold the metal pole in place. So this drain clip here with the bolt running through it stops it from turning in that direction when the ball hits one or the other side of the net. It doesn't rotate. I've been able to anchor the whole thing to the floor just here, and then hold it all in place sequentially up the pole until we get to there. And so immediately this net became usable once more. The ball doesn't bounce off in random directions. When it does come through the net, it bounces as you want it to on a basketball court, just up so you can grab it once more. And the only thing I had to really modify on the wall here was to properly anchor the grate for the boiler outlet, so that if a ball does bounce off here, which doesn't happen very often, but if it does, the washers here hold the whole thing in place nice and steady, and compared to the old holes that you can see drilled into the wall there, I put in some slightly deeper wall brackets so that it's nice and solid, and again it's not stressful, it's not discouraging me from using the basketball net. I'm actually out here most days now, much to the dog's amusement. So that right there has brought me so much joy already. The ability to use the basketball net without it bouncing off things and breaking things and being essentially stressful, but it's meant to be a stress reliever and a bit of exercise. And that's all because of this workshop space, in particular the drill press. We also actually used the drill press a couple of days ago with my brother-in-law. We modified his 32 Counties of Ireland jigsaw, similar to how I modified a jigsaw that we got. to hang on the wall, so it sticks, magnetizes to a steel plate on the wall. And when I modified my jigsaw, I had to use a hand drill and try and guess the depth that I was drilling to in order to put the magnets in the back. We were able to use the drill press, and we knew exactly how deep we were drilling each time. We had a little manufacturing conveyor belt type setup going on, where he was drilling the bits and I was gluing in the magnets here on the workbench. This has been already wonderful to be in and to be using, and to be, again, just be making our lives better in that way. And yesterday, in a charity shop, I came across a skull mask. Now, the skull mask actually was silver metallic, and it had a jaw piece on the bottom, so it was like a full face mask that I've decided to modify using my Dremel. I sort of cut off the jaw and shaped it a bit to be a bit more like a skull. And this is going to be useful at Halloween, I think. Very useful for storytelling and greeting people at the door. Obviously I'm going to age it up a bit, make it look a bit more grungy. But again, this space is a place where I can do these things. I'm not on the coffee table, I'm not hunting around for tools that I don't know where they are because I don't know where I put them down last. Everything is where I know it should be, and I can just come in and do things. I'm not having to carry stuff out of the shed first. I'm not having to make a huge plan before I can actually do it. I can just sit down and do it. It's heavenly. So there you have it, the workshop and shed, and the past few weeks of setting up this magnificent space. I really couldn't be happier, and I recognise, in fact yesterday we were commenting on how for some people this sort of investment is, it's a summer holiday, you know, it's Spain, Greece, you know, America, something like that for a couple of weeks. But the benefit that we would have got from going away for that time to a nice sunny climate has absolutely been overshot by the benefit that we're going to get from these two sheds. The improvement to our quality of life, the fact that I have this space, the fact that we have a place where we can store our garden stuff and not be tripping over it. The knock-on effect in the house already is paying dividends. We now have more space to adequately store the things that should be in the house, instead of, again, storing things around tools and toolboxes and offcuts of wood and bits of foam and so on and so forth. You know, my work stuff, you know. So on the one hand, part of me goes, oh, this is a bit middle-aged, isn't it? You know, come and see my shed. But on the other hand, I couldn't recommend it more. In fact, I think it's been shown actually that people who have sheds have better mental health, and I can see why. There's something really pleasing about being able to also control this space, you know, have a sense of order in the environment. It's just lovely, and I simply had to share it with you. So there we go. I'm now going to go and obviously edit this and upload it, and then treat myself to a day of computer games and a lovely birthday cake, which my amazing wife made last night. Chocolate orange drizzle cake. And then maybe later on open some presents. Incidentally, you may be wondering, my main present this year is a real treat, in addition to this magnificent treat. And that is the special edition of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch, which comes out on the 20th of September. So I have to wait 9 days, but that's fine. And the version I've got is the version with the art book, or the version I've ordered, the version with the art book and the Steelbook Game Boy box as well. So that's going to be my birthday present. I'm going to shut up now because I feel as though I'm bragging. But I'm not. I'm just really happy, and I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you guys today. As ever, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.